The Washington Wizards were a huge disappointment last season, as Bradley Beal was one of the very few bright spots in the team. But this year the front office decided to switch things up and parted ways with John Wall to welcome Russell Westbrook. But how will his arrival impact the team? Join us now as we look at what Russell Westbrook's arrival to the Washington Wizards means for the team. After getting traded to the Wizards, Russell Westbrook will be playing for his third team in 3 seasons. That's a rough path for a player who was a league MVP less than 4 years ago. But things in Washington won't be like they were in OKC, where he ran the whole offense and was its sole focal point. Instead, Westbrook joins one of the most underrated stars in today's league, Bradley Beal. Before John Wall went down with a left heel injury in January of 2019, Beal was only considered a really good developing young player around the NBA, but not a star by any means. Today, he solidified himself as a borderline franchise player and a true NBA star. Still, it doesn't seem like he's getting the respect he deserves. Entering the 2019-20 season, everybody knew the Wizards were going to be bad. Washington's front office was well aware that John Wall would not be able to return to the court until the next season, which would make it tough for them to compete, even in a relatively weak Eastern Conference. However, Bradley Beal rose to stardom throughout the season, and it appeared as if Beal was a lock for the Eastern Conference All-Star team. That would have been a nice consolation prize for Wizards fans, but they didn't even get that. Despite being 6th in the NBA for scoring, and 3rd if you only count Eastern Conference players, Beal was snubbed from the team. He became the first player to average 28+ points and still be left off an All-Star team in over 35 years. At the time of the voting, Beal was averaging 29 points and 6 assists. And if it wasn't for him, the Wizards would have done much worse than the 15-31 record they had up to that point in the season. "I'm a little pissed off about it," said Beal when first asked to react to the news he wasn't named to the All-Star team. "I was kind of expecting it, honestly. It's disrespectful." But the disrespect didn't end there. By the end of his season, Beal finished the 2019-20 campaign as the leading scorer in the entire Eastern Conference. He became the first player from the East to average 30+ points since Dwayne Wade did it in 2009. His season also featured 21 straight games scoring 25 or more points, the longest streak in the league this year. He even became the first player since the late Kobe Bryant to score 50+ points in consecutive nights. But all of these accomplishments weren't enough for Beal to be named to any of the All-NBA teams. And as such, he became the only player in NBA history to average at least 30 points and 6 assists and not make an All-NBA team. All of this shows that Westbrook is coming into a team with a proven alpha that now has an extra chip on his shoulder to prove last season wasn't a fluke. And the Wizards really must have had an urgency to switch things up and maximize their team's potential before their star player became disgruntled and demanded a trade or left for nothing in free agency. Because even if John Wall came back and played at the level he was before his injury, these Wizards would have likely ended up with multiple first-round exits. Besides, it's very unlikely that Wall would play at or above the level he was pre-injury. He had been off the courts for almost 2 years and tore his Achilles in the middle of his recovery. That's why the Wizards took a chance and traded him for Westbrook, who raises the team's ceiling and gives them a breath of fresh air. Now, looking at what Westbrook brings to the table, he's very similar to Wall in terms of skill set. Russ's bread and butter is, of course, attacking the rim in aggressive fashion. Last season, Westbrook shot 61% at the rim, a mark that ranks 8th among guards who took at least 100 shots at the rim. However, Westbrook had far and away the highest volume on these shots. As the only player in the top 8 that even comes close to the Brodies' 591 shots at the rim is Ben Simmons with 456. In summary, few players can attack the rim as often as Westbrook and be as successful as he is down there. In attacking the rim, Russ also gets hacked quite a lot. Last season, he had a 13.2 shooting foul percentage, meaning he's fouled in 13.2 of all the shots he takes. Westbrook also has a 24.7 and 1 percentage, meaning that he makes about 1/4 of every shot he's fouled in. This combination of numbers puts Westbrook among the league's elite slashers. His rim attacking skills will be really helpful for a Wizards team that ranked 24th on points in the paint last season. Westbrook's scoring will also be a welcome addition to the team. The fact that Davis Bertans was the second leading scorer in Washington last season tells you all you need to know about why the team struggled so much and why Bradley Beal had no other choice but to turn into a star. Another area in which Westbrook will be a huge addition for the Wizards is playmaking. Without John Wall, who was one of the league's best playmakers, the team lacked a defined primary ball handler and had to rely heavily on Bradley Beal's average playmaking skills and superb team ball movement to make things happen. But Beal isn't a playmaking type of guard, and the fact that he led the Wizards in assists last season is an embarrassment. With Westbrook in town, Beal can resume his duties as a primary off-ball scorer and thrive off his new point guard's playmaking skills. Russ has led the league in assists twice, and despite being quite turnover-prone, he can still make plays for himself and others at a good rate with the ball in his hands. For instance, Bradley Beal shot 38.2% on catch-and-shoot threes last season, compared to only 32.9% on his pull-up threes and 35.5% overall from three. The fact he won't be the primary ball handler will hopefully do wonders for his efficiency, as he can now be fed more shots instead of having to create them for himself. Westbrook will also represent a big improvement in the Wizards' pick-and-roll game. Last season, among players with at least 3 pick-and-roll possessions as a ball handler and 25 games played, Westbrook's pick-and-roll plays yielded the second highest field goal percentage in the NBA at 53.3%, behind only Chris Paul. Russ barely made the cut with only 3.7 pick-and-rolls per game, but this low mark was heavily impacted by his trade to the Rockets and their ISO-heavy offense, as well as the fact James Harden was still the primary ball handler in Houston. Westbrook's pick-and-roll frequency should increase in Washington and benefit everybody involved. Now, let's address the elephant in the room: Westbrook's god-awful shooting. If you go back and look at his putrid efficiency numbers from behind the three-point line, it's hard to envision Russ fitting in well into any offense. But if you watch games and analyze Westbrook closely, you'd know he's not as bad of a shooter as his 25.8 three-point percentage indicates. He's just heavily prone to taking bad shots. This is due to a combination of defenses forcing him into those bad shots, as Westbrook's paint attacking game is quite predictable, and his own stubbornness. All he needs to do is limit the number of bad shots he takes, and he'll no longer be a net negative shooter. Westbrook actually shot 34.5% from 3 on shots classified as wide open by NBA Stats last season, a number that's really close to league average. If he can change his habits into only taking open, catch-and-shoot threes, he'll start creating more space for his teammates. And believe it or not, Westbrook can also become a positive on the defensive end thanks to his energy, but his defensive efforts are highly related to how well he's doing offensively. This is why it's in the Wizards' best interest to set up an offense that maximizes Westbrook's strengths on offense, as it's their best chance to get as close as possible to a 2017 MVP Russ. And as bad as this team was last year, they still have some very solid pieces in their roster, most of whom should actually become better this year. One Wizard who will take a giant leap this year is Thomas Bryant, their 6'10" center. Bryant averaged 13 points, 7 rebounds, and 1 block in just under 25 minutes of action. He quietly shot 77% at the rim, 44% from the mid-range area, and 41% from the three-point arc, all of which are some of the best marks among big men in the entire league. Assuming the Wizards commit to him as their full-time starting center and let him anchor their defense with his paint presence, Bryant will slowly start climbing up the center rankings in the NBA. Plus, a combination of Russell Westbrook, Thomas Bryant pick-and-roll, and pick-and-fade plays will always have defenses on their toes. Another Wizard to keep an eye on is the aforementioned Davis Bertans, who was the team's second leading scorer last season and had a career year averaging 15 points and 5 rebounds while shooting 42.2% from 3 on a ridiculously high volume of 8.7 three-point attempts per game. Bertans is essentially the league's best corner three-point shooter, making 55% of his threes below the break, as well as the best volume three-point shooter in the NBA alongside the Miami Heat's Duncan Robinson. Bertans will also look to benefit from the attention Westbrook will get as he's driving towards the paint, and hopefully the lethal shooter will continue to get as many, if not more, wide-open looks at the three-point line. In a previous video, we've already discussed with detail the potential Israeli sensation and Wizards rookie Deni Avdija has in Washington. We mentioned how Deni would thrive as a second or third ball handling option. Avdija is also lucky to have fallen to the Wizards at 9 in the 2020 draft, as he goes to a team with good veteran players and a former MVP to learn from. What a dream scenario. And speaking about scenarios, what are this team's floor and ceiling? In the Eastern Conference, it's very likely for this roster to make the NBA playoffs even if things don't go too well. About 6 teams in the East are playoff locks, barring a key injury or an unforeseen disastrous situation. This leaves the Pacers, the Wizards, and the Hawks as the 3 most likely teams to battle it out for the last 2 playoff spots. Assuming Westbrook comes in and tries to play hero ball instead of adjusting to the system in Washington, this team is at worst an 8 seed that'll be bounced in the first round. But if Westbrook comes in and feeds off Bradley Beal, as he claimed he will due to this being his team, and uses his playmaking and scoring skills to make his teammates better, the Wizards can be as high as a 4 or 5 seed. There are a lot of moving pieces like the young player's development, how much the rookie Avdija can contribute right away, whether Bradley Beal can put up another All-NBA worthy season, and what Westbrook we get to see in Washington. But all things considered, this team is 95% likely to be a playoff team in the East. And regardless how risky of a move was trading for Russell Westbrook, it's also quite likely that however it turns out, it wasn't as risky as keeping Wall. By bringing Westbrook into the mix, the front office all but guaranteed their team a playoff spot, and that's much better than what they've been doing these last 2 seasons. The future looks bright in Washington, and before judging Westbrook and his past, let's give him a chance to prove he's willing to do things different and fully commit to winning on this new chapter of his career. Do you think Westbrook is a good fit in Washington? What do you think is the Wizards' ceiling in the NBA playoffs? Let us know in the comments down below. And as always, don't forget to leave a like on the video and subscribe to the channel.